here. I'm not sure what the this is. I'm about to find out. Oh, boy. The vodka and Kahlua? I have no idea. It tastes like sugary dog shit. A birthday teeny. That's appropriate. Happy birthday to whoever the hell made this drink. But it's not my birthday, so I will not finish it. Please bring me my next beverage. Is this, would this be a Cosmopolitan?
Yes.
It's not a bad drink. I'm quite enjoying it, and I'm gonna finish it off. I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. I love alcohol. Let me give it a taste. That's gotta be a green apple teeny. Apples are good for you, so an apple teeny a day probably would keep the doctor away. And that's taken from an alcoholic standpoint of view. I'm done with this drink. I would like another, please. Thank you.
He's infringing upon Christopher Daniels' gimmick.
This is finally a sex on the beach. This is finally a sex on the beach. I've always heard about this illustrious cocktail. Not a fan. Next drink.
Next.
Damn, you might as well pour the rest of it. I would call this, give me one of those red piles of shit. Oh, a Jolly Rancher shot. These are the kind of drinks that just piss you off. A little sumbitch like this, if you put it in a frilly glass and put a couple of little umbrellas in there, probably set you back $10. For what? A case of sugar diabetes and no buzz? That drink. Now, if y'all ain't got nothing else for me to drink, I'm a haul ass. No, I'm serious. I'm about to haul ass if y'all have no better shit than this to drink.
Everybody to Juice Pro Wrestling, episode 32.
Oh, hell yeah! That's the bottom line.
Because Stone Cold said so. Long overdue episode here. We'll call this our Stone Cold Focus Group. With me today, a couple of esteemed colleagues from the JP Woo, the Juice Pro Wrestling universe. With me as always, except for when he's on holiday, as the pricks on Flicks like to call it. They're so sophisticated. Sreten the Savage, how you doing, Sreten?
I feel very sophisticated this evening.
Hey, anything less would be uncivilized. It all goes back to wrestling. Hulk Hogan did promos for Right Guard.
That's right.
He did?
Anything less. I can't do it. I lost my Hogan.
Joining us again from the sometimes... From the sometimes he's on the GG Stalin and Absurdity Junkies podcast.
We don't even know anymore.
Yeah, I don't think they know what's going on. That's what happens when you name yourself after G.G. Allen and Joseph Stalin.
You just bring that chaos on and it just cusses your ass.
And it consumes you.
Well, it's definitely a risk.
Yeah.
Definitely a risk.
Yeah.
We got Bobcat Deveney in the house. How you doing?
Yeah, good, decent.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
What?
And with us for the first time, what do you want your name to be?
You can just call me James.
Brother James over here.
Brother James.
Okay.
Got a good friend of mine, Brother James. Haven't seen him in a long time. Been trying to get him on the show, and he's wearing this sweet vintage Diamond Dallas Page t-shirt. So he gets a self-high five.
Well, we're going to definitely put on a little show tonight, and somebody's going to get the diamond cutter. So
Fuck yeah. Somebody's going to get a can of whoop ass open on him. Hell yeah. My Stone Cold's getting progressively
To be an
worse.
hour and 45 minutes of oh, hell yes.
Yeah.
People will love it.
Before we get started tonight, I want to throw a shout out to Andrea all the way out in Rome, Italy. That's right. JP Dub is worldwide. We're insane and we're worldwide, taking over. You can follow her on Instagram, Instagram.com/Bud_Light here. That's Bud_LIGHTHERE. Check her out. She does some really cool like diorama pictures of moments in wrestling history. Like as for tonight's episode, tonight's promo artwork, you will see the first ever Stone Cold Stunner on one Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Okay.
Yeah. Cheers. Hey, let's take a swig to that. Cheers, guys. Cheers. Salud.
Oh, hell yeah.
Are we counting? Are we taking count? because we don't keep count. Yeah, check out her stuff. She's got some really. It's not just wrestling. A majority of it is, but there's a lot. I was showing you earlier at the bookstore. Some of her promo pictures and stuff.
They look fantastic
on Instagram. Yeah, it's pretty
really
cool. It's action figures set up in like legit dioramas.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Neat, like little all walking shit. Ooh.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. And there's also like some Street Fighter in the mix and some Lego stuff and
okay.
Michael Myers. So,
I like posed action figures telling a
me
story
too.
and scenes. I love that good
I'm
shit.
really into that. I mean, there's stuff it looks so good that it dates back to old WWF magazine covers with like Andre and Mr. Perfect, and they're replicating backstage segments. And it's got like the Macho King and Scary Sherry.
I've noticed a lot of the vintage stuff is definitely coming back.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, from
It never went
vinyls
away.
to action figures, it's big right now.
Yeah, because it has so much flavor compared to nowadays.
Well, now everybody wants to re-release everything that happened when I was a child, or you were a child, or you were a child. Well, you were a child a long time ago, so fuck what you think.
Who are you talking to?
Both of you old bastards up in here.
Whatever, I'm not the one that's always talking about my back, my knees.
I'm talking about.
Then I can't.
Well, my
This is his voice when we're not recording.
That's not true. I always say it like this: my back, my puss, and my crack. My back.
Juice calls me on the phone, and I don't check my phone. I just answer. I say hello, and he goes, "Hello, it's me. It's me, Jessica. I just want to tell you about my backache today."
Daddy. So shout out to Dre. Check out her Instagram page and please follow her. She's got some really cool stuff. Hopefully we'll do some more work with her down the road. We'll have to wait and see. But moving on. Do you like that look I'm giving you? I wish we had video right now. That's why there was a silent pause.
It kind of makes me a little nervous,
Well, you were
actually.
farting.
But, I'm used to being nervous.
Yeah, one more thing before we get to Stone Cold, since we were on the Rome, Italy, or just Italy kick in general.
Okay.
I've one of my favorite grindcore bands, Cripple Bastards. They've been around for like 30 years. They have a new album out on Relapse Records. It's called. Do you want to know what it's called? James, I think you know what it's called.
I want to know.
Do you want to know? What about
Yeah.
you, Bobcat?
Everybody needs to get ready for
I
this.
love these fucking
I want to
names.
know.
Do you want to get like Leonard
for
Cohen,
this.
where it's like everybody knows?
Everybody wants to know.
Yeah, but anyway, Cripple Bastards have a new album out, and it's called.
La fine cresce da dentro.
And
Goodness.
yeah, how's my Italian sound? It's pretty on point, right?
Yeah.
That's definitely some Rosetta Stone there,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say.
These Chef Boyardee motherfuckers ain't got shit on the juice. Once again, that album is called,
La fine cresce da dentro.
and you can check it out. You can download it. You can buy the vinyl. Check out relapse.com and check them out. I love it. It's some great fast grind brutality, and I just had to share that, especially since we're throwing a shout out to Andrea, and we had the whole Italy thing going on there. So shout out to Cripple Bastards.
What's the
as
name
well.
of that album? Sorry.
That
I
album's
forgot.
called
La fine cresce da dentro.
How you do that?
La fine cresce da dentro.
Okay.
Sounds a little
My voice was
filthy.
starting to sound a little robotic, like Peter Cetera.
Is it safe?
It's never safe. It's never sorry. Anyways, on to the point. The topic of discussion for this evening is a gentleman who will probably a gentleman. I wonder how I even think he's a gentleman. He's probably just a bastard like I am. Except he's a lot more famous and well off.
Swine.
You swine! Talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin, stunning Steve Austin.
When he had hair.
Yeah,
When he had hair,
Superstar
when he
too.
had blonde
yeah,
hair.
yeah, or the ringmaster. However you want to, we'll dive in a brief history, and now we're not going to be sitting here reading Wikipedia or anything. We're just going to give it to you straight from memory.
Oh, I did look ahead. Maybe in college football,
Yeah, I think he played some college ball.
Yeah.
I think in Texas.
scholarship.
Yeah, there you go. See, I didn't even have to look at the screen. to
Well,
tell
you can
that.
tell by his
I
legs.
am the Alpha and the
He
Omega.
had those sexy legs of his, beefy and muscular.
Beefy and muscular.
They were
And
delicious.
smooth.
All right. Back on track, you bromosexuals over here. Stone Cold Steve Austin. We've alluded to him in the past on episodes. I don't think we've really talked much about him. Me and Big Ed the Assassin. Shout out to him, who's not with us tonight, unfortunately, due to complications of duty. Too much duty on from his world famous chili.
It's still stuck on the toilet.
Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up!
Sounds like a
This for
victim
you,
of
Ed.
the Texas Chili Bowl.
That's not Ed. Ed over there. Ed dead. Oh, for those of you listening, you better get that. Anyways, we were talking like, hey man, we really need to do a Stone Cold episode, and because I mean he is the guy that if you were to, him and Rock are kind of parallel as far as that era, you know, and how big.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess you could say the Rock maybe surpassed him, becoming a huge Hollywood celebrity.
because-
but
yeah.
I kind of feel in a way in the wrestling aspect that
Exactly.
he has it.
Yeah. That
To
you're
me,
right. Yeah.
and I wasn't a huge Stone Cold guy like when he was on fire. I mean, I liked him. I never disliked him, but I was always because that's when Hollywood Hogan was running wild, running amok, dude. You know, I had to get on the Hollywood gravy train. It was just too fucking sweet.
But how many people have you seen go through the transitions that he went through from being a good guy to a bad guy and still being absolutely selling every seat in the place?
Yeah, or yeah, so
know,
like
I
going
mean-
back to his beginnings, starting off in WCW, and this is like I said, all from memory. I'm not reading off a sheet or anything. What I remember as a kid, in the Dangerous Alliance with Paul E. Dangerously, Paul Heyman, which was a group that included like him, Medusa, Ravishing Rick Rude, I think Arn Anderson. We've talked about those guys. One of my favorite heel groups of all time.
Oh yeah.
In WCW, and Stunning Steve Austin, where he was, I believe, a television champion. He was also in a tag team, the Hollywood Blondes with Flying Brian Pillman.
Yeah.
Oh, that was in WCW?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I liked them. I thought they were great together. I think they ended up splitting up and having a feud. So you can Trump check me on that one.
Yeah.
But so he was kind of floundering around there, and I think the story goes he ends up getting injured. He's at home nursing an injury, still getting paid. Back, you know, Ted Turner, when he was signing those paychecks, he had those. I don't know how much he was exactly making, but I'm sure it was pretty decent, even though he wasn't like a.
It was close to 150,000 a year. I looked it up.
Did you?
Really?
Well, yeah, that's pretty damn
Even
good.
at that level?
say you could pay
Damn.
He was making like 70, and then when he became champion, it doubled his pay.
Nice.
Then when he got hurt, they were like, peace.
Yeah, Eric Bischoff fucking fires his ass. So what does he do? He runs to ECW. And Paul Heyman, well, actually, Paul Heyman called him up and was like, "Hey, Steve, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm sitting at home drinking beer." And this is true. I mean, you can fact check the shit out of that, and I will not be compromised.
I might have to use that line.
That's why I love Stone Cold, because he's so like close to my personality, and this is why millions of people loved him. He was very blue
He's
collar.
salt of the earth.
Right.
Kind of.
And we'll
Yeah.
get to the development and the character of him here in a minute.
You mean a Sandman ripoff?
I watched the Sandman the other night.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Jekyll.
He's here.
So Paul Heyman calls up Stone Cold and says, "Hey, Steve, what you doing?" You know, he's drinking beer. He's like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "Oh, shit, they fired me." He's like, "You pissed about it?" He's like, "Well, hell yeah, I'm pissed about it." He's like, "Why don't you come on our show and talk about it?" So he goes on ECW and does these raw shoot vignettes on WCW, and he was cracking on Hogan in these things and Eric Bischoff. You know, they used to call it back when WCW had the Monday night show, it was Monday Nitro. And he's like, "Monday Night NyQuil." It's like- Hogan, and you know, they were ripping on him because they were older cats, and
Yeah.
you know, Stone Cold's that hungry lion coming up. So he did a lot of that shit, right? He really didn't wrestle a lot of matches. I think he only wrestled maybe 2 or 3 matches, if that, in
Including,
ECW.
Mikey
Whipwreck, I think he
And
fought.
once again, Sandman.
Whipwreck. Now,
Who's a
I
trainer
don't,
now?
I don't think that guy ever won a match, but I
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
know that that guy
did.
was
a
very busy.
champion.
He used to be the guy that they would come in and
Right. I mean,
like,
he
"Hey,
was-
man, you're gonna do a job to this dude," and he would take some fucking horrendous bumps.
Well, just like what's the Dudley?
But he won. Yeah, he won a tag champ with Cactus Jack,
What was the small Dudley?
Spike Dudley.
Spike.
Yeah.
Same thing. I mean, that guy just went through some horrendous matches. I mean, that guy, I couldn't believe some of the ass whoopings that he took.
Oh, yeah,
Oh yeah,
I mean, just
but it
you
got
know.
him over.
Oh man, I mean, he just. Yeah.
You know what? And that says something too for guys that small, that and everybody that wants to. We don't. By the way, James, we don't use the F word on JP Dub. If you know what I mean. I mean, you
mean
can say
fix?
fuck all you want.
Wait, fix?
Shut the fuck up, Ed. We're gonna have to put this dude and give him a diamond cutter.
Gonna have to,
Wait, Diamond Cutter Super
Castrated.
Kick combo?
Yes. Speaking of super kicks, if you guys go to jpdub.com, which will lead you to our YouTube channel. You can check out the sweet super kick party I gave to one Anders Zappa Wallace. Right to the
a
throat.
little bit of the sweet chin music.
Yeah,
Tuning up the band, are we?
some might consider it abuse, but we call it family fun.
Well,
Everyone was laughing.
it's
For 5
dinner
seconds.
table fun.
So I was using the cheat sheet, Wikipedia,
Yeah.
and it did say that he, ironically enough, he got the stunner from Mikey Whipwreck.
Whipwreck?
Yeah.
Say it with me.
Whipwreck.
Say it.
Whipwreck.
Whipwreck. Say it.
Shipwreck?
Say it. Not the
Shipwreck?
G.I. Joe. Remember Shipwreck from G.I. Joe? He had the bird on him.
Isn't Shipwreck?
which one?
That's from
Shipwreck. He
Venture-
was like the sailor guy.
No,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's a Venture Brothers
like it.
character called Shipwreck.
No,
All right,
Venture
Ed.
Brothers had a different name.
Yeah,
We'll wiki
You're
that.
cut off. Yeah.
Damn it.
Anyways, Stone Cold's time in ECW was very short-lived, and it did garner some attention from guys in WWF. And he goes to WWF, and he becomes anybody? Anyone?
Oh,
No.
Was it the
Ringmaster.
There you go. Everybody, Sreten, cue the applause. All right, thank you.
Oh, guess what I heard?
silent.
It was supposedly Kevin Nash and JR was the people who's like, yeah, you should get this man.
Right. Yeah. Well, he was a great worker.
I didn't know it was Kevin Nash who was the one who was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I know Joel Jim Ross and old JR.
God, somebody
Yeah.
say my name. By God, it's a slobber
I'll
knocker.
say barbecue sauce.
Barbecue sauce. His career could be cut in half, ladies and gentlemen. It's a tangy. His spleen could be broken.
You started it, Wallace.
I did start it. Now I can't.
Gotta love JR. I love JR, man. He's a great commentator.
Yeah, yeah. Hall of
You know.
Famer for
But,
sure.
I mean, him and Stone Cold, though, he's called a lot of matches for that guy.
Yeah,
over
yeah.
the years in so many different organizations.
Right.
You know.
And we'll get to those. But going back to Steve Austin coming in to the Federation
Stunning.
at the time. Yeah, stunning Steve Austin. Debuts as the ringmaster
Mm-hmm.
with Ted DiBiase as a manager. He had the $1 million belt.
Still
which
have hair.
he had a little bit of a buzz cut. He was
Okay.
balding, you know. At the time, I thought, I didn't necessarily like the gimmick. I thought he was a little bit doomed, but I loved that the $1 million belt was back. Because let's face it,
Okay.
dude, the $1 million belt was the shit, dude. You didn't like it, Sret?
Agree to disagree.
Oh, dude, the $1 million belt was fucking awesome.
I looked
dude.
it up today and I was like, this belt is stupid.
Oh, man, it was a
But was it
gimmick
really
belt.
worth $1 million?
What is
Probably.
it? Is
No,
it better
no.
looking than the new the current belts though? I think so.
I think it looks better than the Universal title.
Yeah. AK what they call it the fruit roll up belt.
Damn. Some harsh criticism here from Bobcat. Anyways, so he goes through this gimmick. He's kind of, he's doing all right, you know. And then along comes, what was it? King of the Ring
Oh yeah.
Oh, Jake Snake.
with Jake the Snake. That famous segment where he beats Jake the Snake and he's like, get this piece of crap out of my ring. He's like, you walk around here thumping your Bible, talking about your John 3:16s. Austin 3:16 says, I just whooped your ass.
What? What?
The reaction from the guy to the left of him was amazing.
The guy to the left of him was Michael P.S. Hayes.
Michael P. Better than
Yeah.
the Bad Street
Or-
USA.
Hey, to drop a little bit of knowledge on you, JP Wu faithful, as he was known then as Doc Hendricks.
Oh, okay.
You's got
I have a question.
Yes,
Did he ad-lib that?
he
line?
did. He did.
The Austin 316.
Yep.
See, that's one of the reasons
that's why it's so
why
good.
The shock value
people
behind that.
say on modern wrestling on promos is like, why don't you just get fucking bullet points and just have them go with the character instead of like, oh, you gave me a whole fucking.
Well, I give
index
you bullet
card.
points, and you get on here and you still suck. So,
Thanks, Juice. Thanks for the support.
I love you, Ed. It's that heel shit. Hashtag heel shit.
Hashtag heel.
Not only do I
Thanks,
ruin
Dolph
Ed's streak,
Ziggler. Where's my zigzag then?
down at the 12 Elephants.
Because
in
you're the
Lake City.
hardest worker, Juice. Because you're the hardest worker out there.
I'm very hard, very big, very stiff.
Must be half Italian over there.
So yeah, he cuts his promo, and then from there, like, sky's the limit. He starts.
That's when he exploded.
Yeah, he starts developing this persona of Stone Cold, which I've kind of alluded to in the past. The story of how he got that is he's sitting at home, he's watching some on a serial killer.
Klokinski, the
Richard
Iceman.
Oh yeah.
Richard Kuklinski.
Kuklinski, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Gene.
I mean, it was okay. The character was inspired by Richard Kuklinski, but the movie, the name Stone Cold, was inspired by that Stone Cold Brian Bosworth biker movie.
I beg to differ.
Yeah, yeah.
I fact checked this
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
What?
You tell the story. Well, do you know how I got it? Oh, yeah.
Son of a bitch!
It's actually a lot less.
Well, from the killer, because they said that like it was something to do with like he had this stone cold look in his eyes or something.
His nickname was Iceman.
Right.
He was a
Yeah.
mob hitman.
Yeah.
So he wanted to go with the gimmick Ice something.
right,
Then,
and the WWE was
Oh
giving
my
him
God.
all this
Oh
like
my God.
Icy McGee. And,
and he was like,
I'm
no,
Icy
no, no.
McGee!
From Steve Austin's mouth.
Settle down, baby.
From Steve Austin's mouth.
Yeah.
He told
Yeah.
this story.
Right.
His wife at the time was British. She made him a cup of tea. And she said, you better hurry up and drink that
Right,
before it gets.
Stone Cold.
And he was like,
Yeah.
and that rang the, and he was like, okay.
And then after that, she asked, "Hey, have you heard?"
La fine cresce da dentro.
And he was like, "Oh hell yeah!"
Sometimes it just clicks. It just clicks.
So, yeah. So that's how. And once it was that kind of exploded, he got that whole gimmick. He comes in and he's doing this. I mean, the sky was the limit because you got to figure at this time in WWF, you're fresh off the Hulkamania run, like of the mid to late '80s, early '90s. He's in WCW now, and this is actually. So what? Stone Cold, I believe the character Stone Cold debuted like '96-ish.
Yeah.
Because he was feuding with Bret Hart at the time.
Okay, so was that his second major angle? Because the first angle was Jake the Snake when he came up with the 316. Was the second major angle with Stone Cold, Bret Hart?
No, I mean he had already been Stone Cold. As a matter of fact, I think they might have even started calling him Stone Cold at the King of the Ring when he did that Austin 316 shit.
Okay.
Like I said, you guys will Trump check me on that.
Okay.
And but you guys got out there listening got to realize at the time, Hulk Hogan, back in the 80s and early 90s, the fun-loving, family-friendly, kind of where they're at now, unfortunately, but not even as good.
Oh, God, no.
People were sick of that shit. And we're talking like if anybody lived through the 90s and you know how dangerous and crazy the 90s were, once you start getting in the mid and late 90s and just a culture, I mean, musically, entertainment, everything was so extreme that you needed something like that because people were tuning in to WCW because you had the NWO, which brought this realistic approach, and it's like, man, these dudes are like really invading, and they're like really kicking these guys' asses, and it's like gang warfare.
Oh, they just mobbed up and just started whooping ass everywhere.
Yeah, and so for WWF needed something like that at the time.
Yeah.
And Stone Cold kind of spearheaded that. Well, you also had Shawn Michaels and DX who were there to kind of spearhead what they call the Attitude Era, which for some reason is everybody's favorite fucking era. And I hate that. I always call it the Monday Night War era because you cannot just look at the Attitude Era and say that was the best because, there was a lot of cool shit and a lot of like provocative and extreme and like holy shit type things. But go back and watch it now and a lot of it's like, that was really fucking stupid.
Okay.
I think it was just off the wall. I think
just-
it was a lot of impulsive things
Right,
that were
like
just it was
Tits
hit or
and
miss
ass for
it
the
was
sake
hit
of
or
tits
miss.
and ass.
Well, I think some of those guys were allowed to, or in a position to, depending on who they were working for, what they were working for, were able to either go with the flow of their character,
Right.
or kind of be directed in a certain way, perhaps.
They amplified their
In a sense,
personalities.
Yeah.
They did.
yeah.
and they struck gold a lot, even like the lower mid card guys of the Attitude Era back in the WWF. But getting back to what I was saying, at that time they needed that spark. They had Bret Hart, who was the big guy.
He was a transition.
He was the successor,
kind of too. Bret Hart would be kind of like the transition from the old era to kind of
the
like
switching of the guard.
Yeah, exactly.
But Bret was still very much based in your traditional wrestling.
Yeah,
he wasn't,
yeah.
He wasn't about any of the crude or crass humor or comments or any of that shit.
No, he was just straightforward. Just get in there and just
Right.
just tear your limbs apart. I mean, that guy was amazing.
Yeah. He was a great technical wrestler, probably one of the greatest of all time. Like I would have loved to see Bret versus Kurt Angle.
He had some
like that.
amazing stomps. I love his stomps. I mean, he just gets you in the corner, and that was it for you. You know.
I think him versus Stone Cold, and too bad Butchman Lee wasn't able to make it out tonight because he actually saw this match happen in Chicago. It was WrestleMania 13, I believe. Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. And why I'm saying this, I think out of all the feuds besides The Rock that Stone Cold had, his greatest feuds to me were like Bret Hart, Undertaker, Rock. And to me, that's probably my top three feuds.
What about the
with Stone
petty one,
Cold.
Vince McMahon?
Well, yeah. Well,
Bill
that's
character,
that's
though.
we'll get to that.
Okay.
I would say everybody's going to pick that, but I'm going to talk actual wrestlers.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, anyways, going back to this match, it really helped get Stone Cold over because it proved what a tough son of a bitch he was. They took that beating, and if you remember, he was bloodied, he was pouring blood out of his head like
what they call a crimson mask.
Right.
Yeah.
Crimson Ghost. Shout out to the Misfits.
I was actually shocked to see how much that was just pouring out.
Dude, it was dumping out, and he was in the sharpshooter.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of tapping, he just passes out. And so they say Bret wins the match, and he's like, well, I never lost because, I didn't tap. But as a kid, that was super awesome, dude. It was like they took a little bit of that, because that's something you would see back in the Southern territories back in like the 70s and 80s, like the Crimson Mask, like Dusty Rhodes or Ric Flair would wear,
Dick the Bruiser,
adding
a lot
color.
of the old guys.
Yeah, and some color to sell it and tell a great story. And that match is the perfect example. That's got to be. I would love to be able to ask Stone Cold himself, like where he ranks that match, because that's a defining moment in his career for sure. And then so after this, he goes through. Bret Hart leaves, goes to WCW. Stone Cold goes on, and he's feuding with guys like The Rock, who had joined the corporation, Triple H, The Undertaker,
Mick Foley.
Going to the Undertaker feud, there was this one where it kind of got a lot of flack because the Undertaker crucified him. It put him on, the Undertaker symbol, right? It's like that T with the X.
Yeah.
And then they, the Ministry of Darkness or whatever, they got Stone Cold on, then they're raising it up. Which they're kind of, to me, copying a little bit of ECW because the Sandman did that, or Raven did that with the Sandman.
Sandman's still around.
Oh, yeah, I bet you were. And yes, he is. So they do that. They catch a lot of flack for that. I just wanted to throw that out there because it was like, it's kind of weird. Like, why is this cult like satanic shit going?
This is a little dark.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, it was kind of cool. It was wrestling needed to go that way, at least for them, because WWE, WWF, whatever you want to call them, they have always been the more, I want to say, comic bookish of wrestling promotions, where it's always wrestling's always had over the top characters. But if you look in like the old like NWA, AWA, and they did have some of that, but it had never been embellished on much like WWE has ever done. I mean, 100%, they are fully like real life comic book guys.
I think if you if you kind of stay away from wrestling for a while, you really lose it. You lose it. You have to really pay attention weekly, almost in a sense, to these things because of the storylines and the characters and the direction that it's going. I mean, you can get lost really easily. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, especially nowadays with all the promotions and stuff out there. So moving on, Stone Cold also had a great feud with The Rock, which I think they headlined 3 WrestleManias. Yeah, 3. They close out 3 WrestleManias together, which I still don't think has been done to this day.
But you got to admit, though, when The Rock took that, and he bounced himself literally 3/4 of the way out of the ring and bounced off the ropes. That was
Texas Rattlesnake.
I never seen anybody take a stunner like that, man. I mean,
supposedly that was like the running bet.
You know what? The Rock sold it good, but you know who else sold it good?
Hey, yo. Hey, I saw the toothpick go flying out,
Yeah.
Hey, oh.
It's so good. That's right. Come on. Dish it up. Where can you get him on the line? Can you get Scott Hall on the line?
Yeah, but far away.
So
I'm out there with Dolly doing yoga. It changed my life. Me, DDP yoga. It's different kind of yoga. Dolly.
all right, Scott, put the booze down.
Gotta go.
Later. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Hall, let's give it up.
That guy is amazing.
I only took 10 minutes with it. Thanks.
Yeah.
These guys are like, shut
I
up.
love the hairdo.
Move on.
And we just gave him the clap.
Nothing like that. Nothing a shot won't cure.
Yeah, right. Anyways, I think Razor Ramon, aka Scott Hall, and The Rock definitely, and Vince McMahon, when he would take the stunner, Jesus, he would go these convulsions. He's like shaking.
He turned into the letter Z. Kind of shook for a second, then just kind of fell to his right.
That is correct.
That description.
So Stone Cold and The Rock have some killer feuds. What we're gonna go into now is what everybody knows, and this is what boosted WWF past WCW and really made Stone Cold the man he is today. Vince McMahon versus Stone Cold. I mean, you guys, everybody in here watched that.
Oh, yeah.
Go down.
Yeah.
Well, Sreten, you were a WCW guy, so you really didn't get down with that, did you?
No.
Damn.
But I'll watch it on YouTube.
Open up a can of whoop ass.
I've definitely gone back to a lot of that stuff that I haven't seen or I missed. I've gone back and kind of really watched some of that stuff, and some of it's really great. I mean, it's just.
I love when he's got Vince in the ring and he's in the camo and he's got that gun. Like, this is fucked up shit. Pointing to his head and Vince is just shaking and he pisses his pants.
Yeah.
And then he shoots and it's just the bang flag that pops out of there.
I think,
and then the best part, Stone Cold's looking at it, he's like laughing, and he fucking nut slaps Dick slap is my game.
Take a bow, big man.
Yeah, dude.
That's the bottom line.
He straight dick slapped the shit out of him. There's so many great Stone Cold moments you guys can go on YouTube and watch. When he brought the beer truck out.
Oh, man.
And Stone Cold was one of the first guys who was like, that was his shtick to bring out shit. Like he'd bring out a Zamboni or, the beer truck was like the ultimate, like coming out. What was it? Was it a Bud truck or Miller Lite? It was probably Miller Lite. I mean, no one wants to be
I thought it was
showered in
red.
Miller Lite.
Wait, was it red or blue?
We're hoping it was
red.
Budweiser.
I think was it red or was it blue?
Let's talk about it for now.
What, your dick or the beer truck?
Both.
You's got it. But that was a great segment, man. To watch those guys get soaked in beer, and Vince and Shane are selling the fuck out of it. Vince is like swimming.
Yeah.
Oh, those guys are just like doing laps in a pool of beer. I mean, it just couldn't even get out of within 2 feet of their own perimeter.
They were back to being like at that. WWF went through this period, and like I said, after Hogan, they were in this haze. Like, what do we do next? How do we get back to being rock stars? And once the Stone Cold era, and that's what I consider it. Fuck the whole Attitude Era shit. It was the Stone Cold era.
Yeah.
Stone Cold is the guy who I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, sold the most merchandise than anybody.
He's still to this day.
Yeah,
I think,
and I find that hard to
highest.
believe because, dude, Hogan was like God back then. He was everywhere, but here's the thing with Stone Cold.
But Stone Cold was so like blue collar badass. Though.
Exactly, and that's why I was just getting ready to
Whereas
transition.
Hulk Hogan with the whole pills, it's like, man, this is really cheesy. Like,
Well,
cheesy.
it wasn't just pills; it were prayers and vitamins, asshole.
In America, Ed.
Yeah, we're gonna give you the big boot and the leg drop, motherfucker.
This guy's ruining the American dream
and
over
the
here.
cutter.
Yeah, and the cutter. You got a lot. And then the choke slam from the Savage. But that's what got people over. I remember being, in high school at the time, watching this shit unfold, and it was, between Nitro and Raw, it was just a great time to be a wrestling fan. It was so great. Like I get these warm feelings of like it's almost like sitting next to a fucking fire and being so comfortable. Yeah, these boner pills. I mean, what? Little blue pills?
No, just
Chewable?
don't take 2 or 3 of those,
Call me in the morning. Unless you're dead.
You might lose your sight, but you can feel your way around.
Metal detector. It's like a hammerhead shock. Electromagnetic field. Tell me where the pussy's at. Oh, God, you guys are misleading me. Down the primrose path. By God. But no,
Stay
it gives
on
me
course.
this great feeling of like, wrestling was so fucking awesome back then, man. Like, especially if you were tuning into both. Like, I was a disenfranchised WWF kid, right? I had watched both. All of us, basically, if you were into wrestling, and pretty much anybody listening, you started off mainly as a WWF kid, I would think. Unless, down south, I mean, then you had, predominantly NWA territorial shit. But we all started off as WWE kids. And like during that whole, like I said, after the Hogan thing and all the over-the-top comic book, like Say Your Prayers, vitamins and all that, and even though I still loved Hogan, I was sick of that shit. Because it was very... Once you start getting into your teens and all that,
The whole evolution with age.
Yeah,
you don't want to hear that shit anymore.
yeah, and that's what they did from a marketing standpoint. They went to like teens and college level kids that were pissed off, or they were getting ready, they graduated high school, they're going into the workforce, or these blue collar people, and that's where Stone Cold just struck a chord, man. And it was like straight up, I'm the guy who does not want to fucking go into work. And hey, there's a famous Decrypt line to shout out to Brad Vanderzee. Go to fucking work, punch the fucking clock, punch the fucking boss instead. Yeah. Straight from the warm womb. Welcome to the workforce. Get your shitty life in line. I don't want to work forever.
Warm womb.
Yeah. Who wants to fucking go into a job that they don't like? And
I
do
do
that
every
shit?
day.
Yeah, we all do.
I do every day.
Shout out or no shout out?
I work midnight, so I'm a little imbalanced at the moment.
Yeah. But that's what Stone Cold really brought to the table. And that's why I think a lot of everybody, America, just gravitated towards this guy. Because it was like, dude, I'm going to come home. I'm going to drink beer. I'm going to go work the hardest I can at my job, be the best I can, no matter what the fuck it is. And if I get fucking wronged or pissed off, I'm going to take action and do it.
Yeah, I won't tolerate it. Shit. It was a great American archetype. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when he became, what was that, the general manager?
Oh yeah,
When he was kind of running the show for a while.
We'll get into that here in a minute. There was some good shit
And the
there
guitar
too.
playing.
Yeah.
The two chords,
Yeah.
a little two strings.
With Kurt Angle.
Yeah, Kurt Angle, I think, he sang a song for Kurt Angle.
Yeah, but that's too much jumping,
It was
right?
too much for Kurt.
Yeah. But everybody fell in love with that shit, dude, and that gave wrestling its second boom. To me, what started the second boom in wrestling was the NWO and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that's why I think to this day, and Stone Cold was so huge, and you could check him out now. I mean, he's got the Stone Cold podcast, which they've had on WWE Network, and other than that, I believe it's broadcasted through Podcast One. I've listened to quite a few episodes of that, and I love the way he comes off. Is just like he is himself.
Yeah.
He's a very organic,
dude.
sit in the chair, lean back, and just let it go kind of person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet still have this intensity where you can kind of feel like, hey man, someone says the wrong thing, you never know. Stunner out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's the Stone Cold, man.
So it's great. So if you're listening out there, Steve, shout out to your podcast and everything you've done. He's also got this beer out, the Broken Skull IPA.
Is it good?
I haven't had it. I need to get a hold of some.
I haven't tried that.
Yeah. So I'll have to check that out. But I want to transition right now into what you were talking about. So this is Stone Cold's at the height of his career, right? Mm-hmm. He gets hurt again. I think, was it Owen? Owen Hart that gave him a DDT?
Yeah,
That was a pretty
Or
brutal
no, not
one.
DDT. It was a pile driver.
Yeah,
Broke his
yeah.
neck, and he finished the match.
Because his head
dude.
wasn't tucked in.
No, dude. If you watch that, go on YouTube, guys, and check that out. His head sticks out a good
6 inches?
6 inches
Ooh.
from where it's supposed to be protected, and just drove right into the fucking mat. And for those of you that don't know, underneath a wrestling ring, there's like a mat, like a cloth, and underneath that, it's just like this table we got here. That's what they're wrestling
Planks
on.
of wood.
Yeah, but you got to realize how high Owen jumped.
So he got fucked up from that, and he still wanted to work. And they were like, well, you got to work within the system. Remember, they even played it into an angle. So it was cool because he was coming out and he was doing the GM shit and all that.
Yeah.
And then he ends up coming back, and I think he won the belt again. And this is putting us kind of like in the realm of like the late 90s, 2000s.
Now, is that where I come in, where the whole, like, he got hit by a car?
Yeah, the Rikishi shit.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I have to say I'm defending Rikishi, and I like the heel turn because other than
Sorry, you'll
that,
get your ass kicked after this.
he was just rubbing ass into people's faces and not doing anything else. So a heel turn with a breath of fresh air. So,
There was no fucking fresh breaths being taken.
hey man, it was something. It was something.
There was some
other than
dimples
dimple
and a lot of
ass.
flesh.
You
all up
definitely
in
don't
your
want to go
lungs.
through that stink phase. That's just that's absolute.
And he's a Hall of
absurdity.
Hey, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Rikishi?
Yeah, dude. That's because he's that on Hawaii association,
okay.
that rock family. You know, they're
Well,
like wrestling royalty.
But let's give acknowledgement to the Samoans. I mean, to the family of all those people.
Well, yeah. There's yeah. Well, that's another day, another time. Right now, we're talking about by God, Stone fucking cold. Steve Austin. Austin with a chair. Goddamn, the middle finger, Austin. That was dude.
I really want to hear JR say something about Stone Cold. Just add a fucking
JR and Stone Cold went together like bread and butter, man.
Those guys were amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I used to play the old video games.
Oh, yeah.
Years ago, I used to play specifically for the commentaries.
Yeah.
I would do a move just to hear the JR and the Stone Cold kind of stuff that was on those games. I mean, it was just.
They sucked though.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, just to sit there listening.
Those games sucked.
I would love to do that sort of thing. You know what I mean? So.
Which one was that? The PlayStation?
Hey, well, we've had a tournament. You know, Nintendo 64 tournament.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
I was
We
at work
usually
that
need an
day.
announcer.
You are sorry because we gave away a legit replica belt. Well, it was a toy replica, but it was a replica nonetheless
Well,
of
like-
the Winged Eagle belt.
Yeah, I was working 18 hours that day. so.
Stone Cold would have
Sorry,
kicked
I
his
missed that.
fucking boss in the gun, then delivered a star and said, "I'm going to the Juice Pro Wrestling Nintendo 64 No Mercy tournament. Hell yeah!"
Somebody, what?
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 That's the other thing.
What?
Yeah. I've been derailed so many times here.
Not that much, but yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit. His shirt. We're merchandise and all that shit. Why he sold so much. He had shirts that legit said "fuck fear, drink beer." Yep. You know, I mean, they didn't have the U or whatever on it. It would say like "fuck," like F, and then the Stone Cold Skull, the Smoking Skull.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of the Smoking Skull, dude, that was an awesome title. When he won the championship and he made it his own custom, and it was
Better than a spinner belt.
Oh god, Ed, shut the fuck
No,
up.
man, that skull.
I gotta take the cheese.
You know what? That definitely. I would have to say that was definitely one of the cooler belts out there. I like that
dude.
one.
Yeah.
And it had the rattlesnake fucking skin on the back. Oh yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that was something.
Hey, it was too legit to quit.
Two live crew.
I think that was MC Hammer, but you know, we'll get down with the Two Live Crew. Stone Cold's merchandise was ridiculous. I think Ed still has, Big Ed the Assassin has like the middle finger. Remember the big styrofoam middle finger?
Oh, yeah.
Like how awesome is it you can market a middle finger? You can market the phrase "fuck you." It doesn't get better than that. And the greatest thing is you would tune in, you'd see on Raw, and there were kids with this shit. So you don't feel
definitely
bad
don't
for if your kids are listening right now because hey, in the '90s it happened all the time, Mama.
You know, you definitely. I think that was more or less kind of aimed towards live events in a sense. But I mean, how many?
Finger?
Oh,
right.
dude.
But how
Yeah.
many? But listen, you go to a live event and you go to those lines, those ticket lines, man. After a couple of matches, and you see the merchandise booths. I mean, it's a mile long.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids love that. I mean, they're
Yeah.
just buying that up.
They were and dude, Stone Cold shit would sell. Austin 316 shirts were everywhere. They were just like the NWO shirts. That was WWF's answer to the NWO shirt, which at the time I think was like the hottest wrestling T-shirt you could get.
I still have one. I never wore it.
But then
I bought it.
What, NWO or Austin?
No. The Stone Cold shirts.
Yeah.
But I think there's probably more cool looking throwback of Stone Cold shirts than the NWO, right?
All right, Ed. This is the last time you're on tonight. You're talking shit about the NWO.
I disagree. Ed. I think the NWO shirt.
Yeah, NWO was the shit, dude. It was
Because I thought Stone
gangsta.
Cold was
Got
more
the
of like
red
a
and the
machine.
whites.
They had like more. NWO had a lot of.
Well, no, Stone Cold merchandise. Yeah, I mean,
Probably
obviously,
sold more.
I mean, because they had more prolific designs. That's what I was thinking.
He definitely had, and they had a better merch machine behind them. I mean, Vince McMahon, even though when they were losing the Monday Night Wars,
Yeah.
you still had a guy who had been doing this and promoting this shit, and really came up with the idea, I believe, of marketing a wrestler in the right way. Like, hey, okay, we have this huge gimmick. We have a Hulk Hogan, or we have a Stone Cold in this case, who is beloved by millions of people. Action figures, video games, toys, trading cards, T-shirts. That's WWF. That's Vince McMahon's whole shtick, man. That's his whole thing, and that's why it's so big nowadays. Like when Kevin Nash and Scott Hall went over to WCW, they were the ones that were like, "Hey, man, you guys." There was no one really selling like their shirt. I mean, yeah, they would have some cheesy ass like early '90s shirts, like some Steiner Brothers shit or whatever.
Me and my brother going at a time. How'd I make my way on the Stone Cold podcast? I couldn't wait. Largest size in the world.
Thanks, Scotty. Thanks for showing.
No problem, Juice. Love you, man.
All right.
You want me to hear me to do a math problem?
No, we're good on that. The only math we know is 316. They had this huge fucking thing going, this huge machine, and Stone Cold was, like I said, I can't repeat it enough, was the biggest. I don't know. John Cena's got to be closing in, I would think, on whatever. I don't know what the actual facts and statistics are, but Stone Cold did have some badass merch, especially if you're white trash living in a trailer park.
Yeah, but
Oh my God! Yeah.
but as opposed to Cena staying as active as he was, as opposed to Stone Cold being retired,
Yeah, see, well, the thing
a
with
sense,
Stone Cold,
I think he sells. I think he's more popular even to this day, even though he's been
Yeah.
out of the business for a
well,
while.
because and so Stone Cold. All right, we'll get to this real quick. We'll just kind of give a quick follow up of his career. So he wins the belt, he drops it. He wins the belt, he drops it. So on and so forth. Comes back from this injury. Enter the era that should have been the best era ever in professional wrestling, when WWF bought WCW and they did the invasion angle. Huge fucking flop and mistake. It was totally misbooked. That's for another time. We
Yeah,
could do a
because you
whole
kicked
nother
out
show
Buff
on that.
Bagwell.
Yeah. Buff was the reason they failed.
American males.
American males. American males. American males.
You know what's weird is I actually have that on iTunes and I listened to it the other day. This is a true story.
Got you moving with your coffee, did it?
Written by Jimmy Hart. Hey, baby. It's a true story. Oh, God. But yeah, that should have been the greatest angle ever in wrestling, because you had the three big dogs were finally able to all go at it. And
Sting with, for instance, Undertaker.
they didn't. Well, they didn't have those guys, so well, they had Undertaker. But anyways, getting back on track here. At that time, Stone Cold did the swerve and went WCW and all that bullshit, and it just didn't really work out. He comes back, and they do their shit where he's back with WWF, and then he goes heel again. And at that time, I mean, Austin was still on fire, dude. Like, why would you turn this dude heel? And it just, that's kind of when he went with Mr. McMahon, remember, and he was hugging him and playing him lullabies and shit. And he was with Deborah.
Yeah,
and
with
like,
yeah.
and it was totally opposite. And it was a huge buzzkill, man. And then shortly after that, he leaves because they want him to go on to Raw and drop a match to Lesnar.
With no build-up.
No build-up. And I agree with Austin on this.
Yeah.
He's like, where's the money at? Where's the program? You want me to just go and lose to a new kid just because he's a beast?
Wait, you think I'm hardcore Holly?
Yeah, right? So it didn't make much business sense, and I agree totally with him on that. So he took his ball and ran home. Now, was it the best decision? That's,
Yeah.
it's kind of up in the air. But long story short, he comes back and does one last match at WrestleMania against The Rock, and which The Rock finally goes over on him. And that was it. And we're talking, shit, Stone Cold hasn't wrestled in over 10 years.
Yeah.
It's been way like 10 plus, like probably like 12, 13, 14. I don't know what Mania that was. It was definitely in the 20s. And that was it. And sadly, that sucks. I mean, yeah, he's been around to give a few stunners here and there. And, sadly, we'll never get the Hogan versus the biggest match of all fucking time that could have happened had egos been set aside. Hulk Hogan versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like the guy who built the house and the guy that tore the motherfucker down and rebuilt it. God damn. Now you do, if you guys go on YouTube and watch, there was a segment where it was the NWO, Hogan, Hall, and Nash versus The Rock and Stone Cold in a tag match on
That was
Raw.
the closest thing.
That's the closest thing you'll ever get. And then I think there was also another match where Austin stunned Hogan when he was Hollywood Hogan still, but he was the red and yellow Hollywood in WWE.
Oh, right.
And then
Okay.
Goldberg was already laid out on the side, so it was very weird.
Okay.
Again, ego shit. Hey, I bought WCW, so we can't let their guys go over. Sting, Triple H.
Yeah.
So sadly, that was the end of his career, and he wanted to go into acting, and he's done fucking movies, right? Like he did Expendables is probably his biggest.
Yeah, that was his biggest. Then
Role.
he went to straight to video ones. I had this one where he's in with Michael J. White. That's pretty decent.
Yeah, Spawn, aka Spawn.
He's had a few films out
Hey,
there.
All Black Dynamite, which is awesome.
Yeah, that is an awesome movie.
Yeah, that's really good.
So you retired around 2005-ish.
Yeah, so around then, Stone Cold, he's done with wrestling at that point, and well, no, actually, I think even before that, it might have been like 2003, 2000, somewhere around there.
That was a big change, though, right around that time. I mean, that was just coming out of the Attitude Era, and
That's when
it was like fresh.
And that's when
they
the
needed new
ruthless-
angles.
the ruthless aggression era.
Oh,
right.
And a lot of people had tuned out. And that's when a lot of people kind of got it like, hey, man, wrestling just, whatever. And I kind of was like that, but yet I would still sit
you
every
still
Monday.
had hope. You hope watched.
Yeah. Because, dude, I've been watching it since I was 5, and I know
too.
what it is at its core, but to me, it's still entertainment. It's still a release, from fucking going to work every day and doing all this other bullshit, And that's one great thing that Stone Cold gave everybody. He gave you that fucking motivation to like, hey, man, go out there, grab that fucking brass ring, work as hard as you fucking can.
Hell yeah.
And don't take no fucking shit.
And drink on the job.
What?
Right, who can get paid to sit here and just get like sloth?
I'm doing it right now. Yeah.
Where's my can? Throw that bitch to me.
That guy's got like a cooler of beers, just throwing him, like whipping him at his head,
then
basically.
Did you know when
Yeah,
he did
drinking
that,
beer after
he
beer.
had a thick ring on, so when he would catch it, it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, it's a brass ring.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Vince wanted them to grab it.
Why'd you grab that brass ring?
Oh, you punny
I don't know how
bastard.
much girth is involved in it.
I don't know if it's a cock ring, but it's yet to
be
be
the seven
disclosed.
gates of hell.
A thick, non-vibrating.
But yeah, Stone Cold is gotta go down as one of. Okay, so if you're gonna do a Mount Rushmore, and we've also talked about this a few times because it's anybody you have on the show, it's always gonna be debatable. The Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling, not WWE, because I fucking hate that everybody thinks like, oh, well, it's WWE. That's professional wrestling. No, that's what they want you to believe because they bought out all the fucking competition.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly.
But that's not what it is.
I started off with Windy City Wrestling, actually.
Nice.
Like way back in the day with like guys like Dick the Bruiser and Baron Von Raschke,
Crusher.
Moose Cholak, the Crusher. I mean, my dad used to take me to see wrestling events in Valpo and in Hammond.
Okay.
I mean, like with some of his friends, and
It's great.
I would always have like one of those old school little cameras. I mean, I'd like make my way down to the entranceway where they would come out just to snap a couple of pictures.
a couple of shitty pictures
I
too.
have some amazing pictures actually. It's like
Really?
Dusty Rhodes,
Really?
Macho
Oh, wait.
Man, Sensational Sherry,
Did somebody say the American
Brutus.
Dream?
Brutus the Barber Beefcake,
Bruti.
Brutus. I got pictures right now. I mean, man, I just that was impactful for me. I mean, to
Yeah.
see that stuff. I mean, it was great, man.
Yeah, they used to have a lot of legends that would come through this way.
Man, I mean,
the
unbelievable.
region, Northwest Indiana.
Coco Beware, Ultimate Warrior, all those old school guys.
I seen
man.
Warrior versus Undertaker and Valpo in a body bag match.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was just amazing. And with the house shows, but I mean, still, it was just
Well, to see
mind-blowing,
that
man.
talent. And that's why, and nowadays there's a lot of up and coming talent that are great, that are guys that are going to end up in WWE, and you'll see them
All
at like
Japan.
or Japan
Yeah.
with promotions like Black Label Pro that bring these guys out, and
They're
you're gonna have a good time.
They're
dude.
definitely like looking at those guys that bring something nowadays. I mean, that just kind of. But these newer guys are also inspired by a lot of these older guys too.
Well, yeah, and like I said, how could you not be inspired by Stone Cold? But how could you at the same time ever aspire to be Stone Cold?
I don't
like,
think
not
that-
necessarily copy his character, but have that sort of impact. Because with him, I believe, like, yeah, he had a great character, right? It was a lot of it was kind of gypped from the Sandman, a good chunk of it.
But it had more depth, and he could wrestle better.
But here's the thing, and this is the one thing that's impeccable and super valuable in any medium of entertainment is timing. It was the right time, the right place for that to happen. Had Stone Cold's character nowadays, do you think that would have worked out? Had that shit breaking out now? No. Hell no.
No.
Oh, hell no. It went, and we
Oh, in
wouldn't.
the PG era. Oh, yeah. In the PG era, no.
It would,
No.
I mean, there was, it's just, I don't think it would have worked. It's too much.
Shark. Who was that?
Shark Boy, the all shell, yeah.
Oh yeah, man, that was about the Clamato. You got the Clamato juice or whatever. I don't know what he had. He'd come out there with a hell yeah
Clam juice. Yeah. He did the shell, yeah.
That was about the funniest thing I think.
Shark Boy 316 says, I just bit your ass. Oh, yeah. And Stone, we talked about this last episode. I think Stone Cold actually dug that, you know. Just like Macho Man gave the okay to Jay Lethal and the Black Machismo, you know. That's super cool.
Amazing. The Black Machismo when he did the Randy and the Ric Flair for a while there. That was just. If anybody hasn't seen that, you need to go back
the
and
Ric Flair
see
off?
that. You need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he's great. Jay
mean-
Lethal's awesome. He's current
I've
reigning and
only
defending
seen him
Ring
as
of Honor
like
champion.
Jay Lethal doing a Ric Flair impersonation or Black Machismo. I never seen him like, I'm doing Jay Lethal.
oh man, yeah.
No,
he
he is-
did the Jay
he's the-
Lethal for a while, but
Yeah, he's doing it right now.
Yeah.
He's
but
Ring
you
of
gotta-
Honor world champion for the second time. Yeah, but to kind of wrap things up here, Stone Cold Steve Austin, you're going to do your Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling. It's got to be, to me, it's probably Stone Cold, Hogan, The Rock, Flair, and how many guys are on that mountain? There's one more. Who's the last guy?
Who'd you list?
Stone Cold, Hogan, The Rock, Flair. Would you have to put Andre on there?
Do you put Andre on there?
I think we put Andre on there.
I don't know if he'd come from those French Alps. It's a little, foggy up there. Can he make his way?
From the French Alps in Grenoble. From Grenoble in the French Alps. I'm trying to get my Howard Finkel. As a kid, I used to always impersonate coming down the aisle in a combined weight.
Kilograms.
Yeah. The cartel. Put this mic in my face. Yeah. So that's kind of my. What do you guys think? Is that a little accurate? At least 3 of the 4 of those.
Yeah.
And Stone Cold's got to be up there. If we were to pick the 2, people might fucking hate me for this, but I'm gonna say it's Hogan and Stone Cold were the best to happen for the business.
I'm going to say Stone Cold and Ric Flair.
For the business, I would agree with Juice.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, those guys are definitely.
Flair was the man, but he wasn't. Flair wasn't as worldwide accepted,
Yeah.
even though he was worldwide.
Flair wasn't.
if that makes sense, but it really does, because he didn't have the machine behind him,
Yeah.
dude. He didn't have
Right.
WWF behind
Right.
him the whole time. He went there in early '90s, got a little run, then came back, and then
Well,
he got
even
bought
then,
out.
I think even then he, Flair developed into more of the managerial role. Even when he was with WWE, even though he was wrestling, he was still kind of,
Like when he came back
Okay.
again,
Mentorship.
because he was so
Personally-
fucking old at the time.
I want to mention something here. Personally, one of my favorite Stone Colds that I watched was with him and Booker T. When he chased.
What's up with the supermarket?
It's called Disguised as a Fireman. Stone Cold is Disguised as a Fireman. He chased Booker to what was that, the frog or the green frog market or something like that?
Yeah.
And he whooped his ass,
dude.
aisle by aisle.
He threw
That was one of the
him. He's like,
best-
"What's a flower here?"
$2.99 peanuts on sale, and just threw a bucket of peanuts on his head of egg flour. I mean, he tarred
He
and
rang him
feathered.
through the fucking.
That
he took him
was-
through the checkout.
Yeah. That was one of the greatest. I love that segment.
He
I
took the
love that.
milk and fucking put it together like the beer cans. It's like it beat the shit out
Get
of
a little
Booker
vitamin
T.
C right up there.
Yeah, dude, that was a great. He had so many great moments, and you guys can check it all out on the WWE Network. Stone Cold, shout out to you. He sounds like through his podcast and some of the interviews I've seen. Like I said, it'd be like hanging out with one of us. Like he just seems like a badass motherfucker to just sit and drink beer with and like talk about
Not
fucking
nowadays.
wrestling.
Because he does DDP yoga.
Well,
Well, they broke the mold when they made that guy, man. I mean, he's.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody has ever tried to really. Well, you can't. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
copy the guy, and you can't. You may be able to take some influences from the guy, but
Yeah.
that would be too obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
think
the
if
thing.
there's one person right now
original.
in Impact Wrestling, Eli Drake is a guy who's killing it, who reminds me of a mixture of Stone Cold and The Rock.
Yeah.
But in his own way. And you can tell this guy's influenced by him, and he's killing it. So shout out to Eli Drake on that, and shout out to Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm glad we got to talk about him finally. I'm sure this won't be the last time, considering who the fuck he is and what he does. And yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for joining me.
That's definitely a legacy, man, with him. I mean,
Of brutality.
household name, man. Brutality.
Hey,
yes.
blood, sweat, and beers, right?
Blood, sweat, and beers. That's the bottom line.
Blood, sweat, and beers, fuck fear. That's what he would say right now if he was here, right? He would say, give me one of those Juice Wisers over there. He would say it just like that, too.
Hey, Wallace.
Yes.
If somebody wanted to contact anybody that's working for the Juice Pro Wrestling podcast or
Yes.
as a part of it, how would they be able to do that?
Oh, well, that's simple, Sreten. You can call the Juice Pro Wrestling hotline. You call the hotline at 1-872-267-4199. Would you like that again in your rear? It's
Yeah.
1-872-267.
We're not ready to see you yet. 99 naked guys.
That is just absolutely scary.
I think I got cut.
Little David Sting.
He killed me.
It's always
I love
sounding
it.
like this.
Hey, but check us out. If you're on Facebook, join the Juice Pro Wrestling universe. That's the JP Woo. That's our group on Facebook. You can also find us at Juice Pro Wrestling Podcast on Facebook. We're on Instagram at Juice Pro Wrestling. We're on Twitter, where we love all our Twitter followers. And there are an abundance of you guys, and we greatly appreciate that. We love to interact with all of you, share love, stories, ideas, thoughts, and cherish them forever. You can follow us on Twitter at JPW Podcast. And I wish I could promote your shit, Ed, but you just kind of... You're kind of like a fucking dust bunny in the region.
This guy just runs across the street in the snow, does he?
A little bit.
Where can they check out the Gigi Stalin?
Podcasts. You got podcasts, iTunes.
Matter of fact,
Stitcher.
wait. Sorry to rudely interrupt you, but more importantly, when are you going to be on another episode?
What, of Juice or of Gigi?
Gigi.
Bestiality. Oh, he has his own program, does he?
Out there.
Oh God, that's the running gag.
Yeah.
Ball
Well,
gag.
no, I'll show you the running gag. Just
Yeah, get
let's
the ball
wrap
gag
this up
for
so
you.
we can do that. But they can catch you guys on Facebook, right? Mm-hmm. Check out past episodes. And what are you on? Podbean or
Facebook, SoundCloud,
Libsyn?
iTunes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stitcher.
Cherish the thought. Stitcher, yeah.
Check it out, man.
Yeah, and James is just a guy who likes to go to work, drink beer, and have fun.
I like to
listen
drink beer,
to
I like
metal.
to go to work.
Yeah,
Listen to a little metal. Yes, I do.
yeah. Except, hey, sorry, Steve, but he ain't rocking that Disturbed.
Oh, get up, come on, get down with the rattlesnake.
I'm sorry, that was so whack. That I fucking hate Disturbed, and when they brought that shit in, it was like, oh god damn.
Yeah,
it.
we try to keep it real around here.
Yeah.
We try to keep it heavy.
Yeah, real fucking heavy. Oh, by the way, before we end, Stone Cold's theme, possibly one of the best of all time.
Absolutely.
I whenever I walk into work, I just want to hear that glass break. Like, shh,
I want to throw somebody in there and say, hell yeah.
yeah. So, hey, we all love Stone Cold here. We hope you guys do too. And if you don't, hey, call us, leave us a voicemail, leave us a comment on YouTube or any of our social media pages, and tell us why the fuck we're wrong and you're so right. Why you're so righteous and I'm not.
Maybe there's an imbalance of imperfectities here. I don't know.
Yeah.
People have a different opinion about different things.
Yeah. Or maybe you're all just fucking right and I'm wrong.
Could be that they just have their blinders on and they just don't see the truth.
It could be, but it also could be that they just don't know how to.
Could be that the Illuminati got to him.
Jesse the body dropping in on a late fucking.
Hey,
I
man,
gotta jump in when I hear something is not right.
how did this guy
And I
come all the way
listen.
from the Baja?
The governor. How you doing, governor?
World, I'm doing pretty good.
How many? What do you think about this wall our president's building?
They're not gonna make it. The Illuminati will Not let it happen. Worst Jesse impression ever. I gotta go.
Hey, was it as bad as this?
La fine cresce da dentro.
I don't think so. So if you guys don't think so, it's about time that we wet 'em up, wet 'em up, wet 'em up, wet 'em up, wet 'em up.
From grace.
By God, also in the chair!
Shit
Vince is like,
anymore.
punch my butthole.